Marcus Chun stood in front of the mirror in his small bathroom. He straightened his tie for the 10th time. His hands were shaking. After 11 years of waiting, hoping, and dreaming, today was finally the day. The job interview at Helios Dynamics was in 2 hours. Chief engineer position. The biggest human shipyard in the entire sector. If he got this job, everything would change. No more fixing broken ships in the orbital slums. No more watching his daughter Lily wear clothes that were too small because he could not afford new ones. No more sleepless nights worrying about money. He looked at the photo on the wall. His wife Sarah smiled back at him. She had died 5 years ago during the Proxima outbreak, a virus that killed thousands on their colony. Marcus had held her hand as she took her last breath. He had promised her one thing. He would give Lily a good life. "Dad, you look nice," Lily said from the doorway. She was 12 years old with dark hair like her mother. She had the same stubborn look in her eyes that Marcus saw in his own reflection every morning. "Thanks, sweetheart. How do I look? Professional? Smart? You look like you're going to throw up." Marcus laughed. It was a nervous laugh. "That obvious, huh?" "It's going to be fine, Dad. You're the best mechanic on the whole station. They would be stupid not to hire you." He hugged her tight. "I'll be back in a few hours. Mrs. Patterson next door will check on you." "Dad, I'm 12. I don't need a babysitter. Humor me." Marcus left their small hab unit and walked toward the transit hub. Station Kepler 7 was not a nice place to live. It was an old mining station that had been turned into housing for workers. The walls were rusty. The air always smelled like oil and metal. Crime was common. But it was all Marcus could afford after leaving the military. He had served 3 tours in the HFY Stories. In the Vitus, Colonial Defense Corps, he had fought in the war against the Valari Empire. Those years had given him nightmares that still woke him up at night. He had seen friends die. He had killed enemies. He had done things he tried not to think about anymore. The Valari were a proud species. They stood 7 feet tall and looked like wolves that walked on 2 legs. Silver fur covered their bodies. Their eyes were golden and sharp. Their empire had crushed 3 human colonies before the armistice was signed. Now they were supposed to be allies. The diplomats called them honored partners. Everyone else called them murderers. Marcus checked his watch. 90 minutes until the interview. He was making good time. He just needed to get to the transit hub, take the shuttle to the upper levels, and he would arrive with time to spare. He turned into the alley behind the transit hub. It was a shortcut he had used 100 times before. The alley was dark and smelled like coolants and garbage. Most people avoided it. Marcus was in too much of a hurry to care. That was when he saw her dot at first. He thought it was just a pile of trash. A heap of bloody fur and torn cloth lying against the wall. Then the heap moved. A weak groan came from it. Marcus stopped walking. His brain told him to keep moving. He was going to be late for his interview. This was not his problem. He had his own life to worry about, but his feet would not move. He walked closer and saw what it really was. A Valari woman. Her silver fur was covered in blood. Plasma burns marked her side and shoulder. Someone had attacked her with military-grade weapons. Her golden eyes were half closed and filled with pain. Marcus had seen enough dying soldiers to recognize the look. She had maybe 10 minutes left. The bleeding was too heavy. Without immediate help, she would die right here in this dirty alley. Other people walked past the alley entrance. They saw the wounded Valari. They kept walking. No one wanted to help one of them. The war might be over, but the hatred was still fresh. Marcus looked at his watch. 75 minutes until his interview. He thought about Lily, about the new life he could give her, about the promise he had made to Sarah. This job was everything. His one chance to escape poverty. His one chance to give his daughter a future. He looked at the dying Valari woman. "Damn it," he whispered. He knelt down in the filth and blood. He pulled off his nice jacket and pressed it against her worst wound. The blood soaked through the fabric immediately. The Valari's eyes opened wider. She looked at him with confusion. "Human?" she rasped. Her voice was weak. "Why? Why are you helping me?" "Because I'm an idiot," Marcus said. "Now shut up and save your strength." He called for emergency medical services on his communicator. They said it would take 15 minutes to arrive. Too long. He needed to slow the bleeding now. Marcus had learned field medicine in the military. He had patched up wounded soldiers on the battlefield. He had saved lives with nothing but his hands and whatever supplies he could find. He used those skills now. He tore strips from his shirt and made bandages. He applied pressure to the wounds. He talked to her constantly, telling her to stay awake, telling her she was going to be fine. "My name is Sareth," the Valari whispered. "Marcus, now stop talking. You are ruining your clothes. They're just clothes." She made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are strange, Marcus." The medical team arrived 18 minutes later. They were surprised to see a human covered in Valari blood, keeping their patient alive. They took over and rushed Sareth to the medical center. Marcus stood in the alley. His nice clothes were ruined. His hands were covered in silver blood. He looked at his watch. The interview had started 10 minutes ago. He ran anyway. He ran through the station as fast as he could. He arrived at Helios Dynamics 40 minutes late, covered in blood, looking like a madman. They would not even let him in the building. He called. He explained. He begged for another chance. The answer was always the same. The position had been filled. They had needed someone reliable. Someone who showed up on time. Marcus went home that night and sat in the dark. Lily found him there when she came back from school. "Dad? What happened?" He told her everything. About the Valari woman. About missing the interview. About losing the job. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she hugged him. "You saved someone's life, Dad. It's more important than any stupid job." Marcus held his daughter and tried to believe she was right. But deep inside, he could not help wondering if he had just thrown away their future for a stranger who would probably never even thank him. He had no idea how wrong he was. 6 weeks passed since that day in the alley. Marcus went back to his old life. He woke up early every morning. He fixed broken ships at a small repair dock. He came home tired and dirty. He made dinner for Lily. He helped her with homework. He went to sleep and did it all again the next day. The dream job was gone. Someone else had taken it. Marcus tried not to think about it too much. Thinking about it only made things worse. He had tried to visit the Valari woman at the medical center. Sareth, she had said her name was. But when he arrived, the staff told him she was gone. Discharged and left the station. No forwarding address. No message. Marcus was not surprised. The Valari were proud creatures. They did not like owing debts to anyone, especially humans. She had probably left as soon as she could walk to avoid the embarrassment of thanking him. That was fine. He had not saved her for thanks. He had saved her because it was the right thing to do. Because he could not walk past a dying person, no matter what species they were. Life continued. The credits were tight, as always. Lily needed new school supplies. The rent was going up again. Marcus picked up extra shifts when he could. Some nights he was so tired, he could barely keep his eyes open at dinner. And the men in suits came. It was a normal evening. Marcus was cooking pasta for dinner. Simple pasta with sauce from a can. Lily was doing her homework at the small table in their kitchen. Someone knocked on the door. Marcus opened it and felt his blood go cold. 2 Valari stood in the hallway. They were massive, nearly touching the ceiling with their heads. They wore expensive dark suits, but Marcus could see the shape of armor underneath. Imperial Guard armor. He recognized it from the war. These were not ordinary Valari. These were soldiers. Elite soldiers. Marcus-chun? One of them asked. His voice was deep and calm. That's me. You will come with us, please. It was not a request. Marcus could hear that clearly, but he also heard something else. The word please. Valari soldiers did not usually say please to humans. What's this about? You will find out when we arrive. Please come with us. Marcus looked back at Lily. She had stopped doing her homework. Her eyes were wide with fear. My daughter comes with me, Marcus said. Or I don't go anywhere. The two Valari looked at each other. Something passed between them. Some silent communication. Then the first one nodded. That is acceptable. Please bring the child. Marcus grabbed their jackets. He held Lily's hand tight as they followed the Valari through the station. People stopped and stared. Humans did not walk with Valari Imperial Guards. Not like this. Not peacefully. They took a shuttle from the station. Marcus watched through the window as Kepler 7 grew smaller behind them. Where were they going? What did the Valari want with him? Then he saw it. A ship hung in high orbit above the station. But calling it a ship was like calling an ocean a puddle. It was a Fang-class dreadnought, one of the most powerful warships in the Valari fleet. Marcus had fought against ships like this during the war. He had watched them destroy human vessels like they were made of paper. The shuttle flew into the dreadnought's landing bay. Marcus held Lily close as they walked through corridors that were clearly not designed for humans. Everything was too big. The ceilings were too high. The doorways were too wide. They were taken to an observation deck. Huge windows showed the stars outside. The view was beautiful and terrifying, and waiting for them was Sereth. Marcus almost did not recognize her. In the alley, she had been bleeding and weak. Now she stood tall and strong. Her silver fur was clean and gleaming. She wore armor that looked like it cost more than Marcus would earn in 10 lifetimes. Her golden eyes were sharp and intelligent. Marcus-chun, she said. Her voice was clear and commanding. I never properly thanked you for saving my life. Marcus stared at her. You could have sent a card. Sereth's ears moved in a way that Marcus thought meant amusement. I have a more substantial gift in mind. But first, there is something you should know. She gestured toward the massive window. Outside, Marcus could see more ships. Dozens of them. An entire fleet of Valari warships hanging in formation. In 3 days, Sereth continued, my daughter arrives to negotiate a new trade compact with your united colonies. Your daughter? Empress Valdris. First of her name, sovereign of the Valari Dominion. Sereth's eyes held his gaze. You saved the Empress's mother, Marcus-chun, and the Empire always pays its debts. Marcus felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. The woman in the alley. The bleeding stranger he had saved. She was not just some random Valari. She was royalty. The mother of the most powerful person in the Valari Empire. I don't understand, he said. What were you doing in that alley? Why were you hurt? There are those who do not want peace between our peoples, Sereth said. Her voice became hard. They tried to kill me to create an incident. To blame humans. To restart the war. And you didn't tell anyone? You just left the station? I needed to investigate quietly. To find out who was behind the attack. She paused. But I also watched you, Marcus-chun. I had my people research your history. Your military service. Your wife's death. How you have struggled to raise your daughter alone. Marcus pulled Lily closer. He did not like the idea of being watched. Being studied. You are a good man, Sereth continued. A brave man. The kind of man who saves enemies in dirty alleys, even when it costs him everything. That is rare. Among your kind and mine, what do you want from me? Sereth smiled. It looked strange on a wolf face, but somehow warm. I want you to help us build peace between humans and Valari. My daughter is young. She inherited an empire that fought your people for 20 years. The negotiations will be difficult. Both sides carry old wounds, old hatreds. She stepped closer. But you, Marcus Chun, proved something to me in that alley. You proved that humans can look past hatred, that you can see us as people, not enemies. I need someone like you to help bridge the gap. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He looked at Lily. She looked back at him with those stubborn eyes, waiting for him to make a decision. And if I say no, then we will return you to your station with our thanks and a generous reward. I will not force you. Sereth's ears lowered slightly. But I am asking, for the sake of both our peoples, will you help us? Marcus thought about his small hab unit, his dead-end job, his daughter wearing clothes that did not fit. Then he thought about what Sereth was offering, a chance to be part of something bigger, something that might actually matter. What exactly would I be doing? You would be a cultural liaison during the negotiations. You would help my daughter understand humans. You would help your people understand us. Sereth paused. The salary would be significant. Your daughter would have access to the best schools in the sector. You would both live on the diplomatic station during the negotiations. Lily tugged at his sleeve. Dad, she whispered. This sounds amazing. Marcus looked at Sereth, at the ships outside the window, at the stars. Okay, he said finally. I'll do it. But not for the money. Not even for my daughter's future. Then why? Marcus remembered the feeling of kneeling in that alley. The choice to help instead of walking away. Because if there's a chance to make things better, I can't say no to that. It wouldn't be right. Sereth nodded slowly. That, Marcus Chen, is exactly why I chose you. The diplomatic station was the nicest place Marcus had ever seen. Clean walls, fresh air, real windows that showed the stars instead of rusty metal plates. Their quarters had 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen with food that was not from a can. Lily ran from room to room on their first day there. Dad, look at this. Dad, there's a real bathtub. Dad, I have my own room. Marcus smiled at her excitement, but his stomach was full of worry. He was a mechanic from the slums. What did he know about diplomacy? What did he know about talking to emperors and politicians? Sereth had given him files to study. History of human-Valari relations. Cultural differences. Important people he would meet. Marcus read everything 3 times. He still felt unprepared. The human delegation arrived first. They were politicians and diplomats from the United Colonies. Men and women in expensive suits with fake smiles. Marcus watched them from a distance during the first meetings. They were polite to the Valari. Very polite. But Marcus could see the hatred hiding behind their eyes. These people had lost family members in the war. They had seen colonies burned. They wanted peace, yes, but they did not want friendship. They wanted to win. To prove that humans were strong, the Valari side was no better. The advisors and officials who came with Sereth looked at humans like they were insects. Lower creatures who had somehow survived. They spoke in formal language, but their ears and tails showed their true feelings. Disgust. Contempt. Marcus sat in meetings and watched both sides talk past each other. They were saying words about trade and borders and shipping routes. But they were really saying something else. They were saying, we don't trust you. We don't like you. We're only here because we have to be. On the third day, Empress Valdris arrived. Marcus stood with the other liaison staff as her shuttle landed. He expected to see someone old and fierce, a warrior queen with scars and a cold face. Instead, he saw a young woman. Valdris was barely 30 by Velari standards. Her fur was darker silver than her mother's. Her eyes were like copper, bright and sharp. She walked off the shuttle like a sword moving through air. Every step was controlled. Every movement was precise. But Marcus saw something else. Something most people missed. She was exhausted. The Empress wore her power like armor, but underneath it, she was tired. Scared, even. Marcus had seen that look before. On young soldiers going into their first battle. On widows at their husbands' funerals. On his own face in the mirror after Sarah died. Valdris was carrying a weight too heavy for her shoulders. And she was terrified of dropping it. The state dinner that night was a disaster. Not openly. Everyone was polite. Everyone said the right things. But Marcus could feel the tension like electricity in the fonde. The human diplomats made comments about moving forward from past unpleasantness. The Velari advisors responded with barely hidden insults about human resilience. In the face of obvious inferiority, Valdris sat at the head table, her copper eyes moving from speaker to speaker, saying nothing. Marcus watched from his seat near the back. He was supposed to be a cultural liaison, supposed to help bridge the gap. But what could he do? He was nobody. A mechanic playing dress-up in a room, full of powerful people. Then he saw something that made him move. Valdris had stepped away from the main table. She stood alone by a window, looking out at the stars. Her advisors were busy arguing with the human delegation. No one was watching her. No one, except Marcus. He walked over. He knew it was stupid. He knew it was probably against 100 protocols. But he did it anyway. "Excuse me, Your Majesty." Valdris turned. Her eyes were sharp. "Dangerous. You are the human my mother rescued from the slums." Other way around, actually. I rescued her. Something flickered in those copper eyes. Surprise, maybe. "So you did. The man who ruined his future for a stranger. My mother speaks highly of you." "That's nice to hear." They stood in silence for a moment. Around them, the dinner continued. Arguments disguised as conversation. "They hate each other," Valdris said quietly. "All of them. They smile and bow and speak pretty words. But they hate." Marcus nodded. "Yeah, they do. How do I fix that? How do I make peace between peoples who have spent 20 years killing each other?" It was not a rhetorical question. Marcus could hear the genuine confusion in her voice. The desperation. "I don't know," he admitted. "I'm just a mechanic. You are a soldier, a father, a man who made an impossible choice in a dirty alley." Valdris looked at him directly. "My mother believes you understand something that the politicians do not." "What is it?" Marcus thought for a long moment. He thought about his wife, about his daughter, about all the people he had killed and saved in the war. "People are people," he said finally. "Doesn't matter if they're human or Velari. They want the same things. Safety, family, a future for their kids. The politicians see empires and statistics. But regular people? They just want to live." Valdris was quiet. Her ears moved slightly, processing his words. "In the war," Marcus continued, "I killed Velari. A lot of them. I hated your people for a long time. But then I found your mother bleeding in that alley, and I didn't see an enemy. I just saw someone who needed help. And you think that feeling can spread? I think it has to. Or we're all going to keep killing each other until nobody's left." The dinner ended an hour later. Nothing was resolved. Both sides went to their quarters angry and frustrated. But the next morning, Valdris requested a private meeting with the human delegation. No advisors, no officials, just her and them. She apologized not for the war, not for the colonies that were destroyed. She apologized for the Valari's attitude, for treating humans as lesser beings, for the pride that had made peace so difficult. The human diplomats did not know how to respond. This was not in their plans. They had expected demands and threats. Not an apology. In the silence that followed, Marcus stood up. He was not supposed to speak. He was just a liaison. But he spoke anyway. When I was in the war, he said, I lost friends. Good people. I had every reason to let the Empress's mother die in that alley. But I didn't. Because hate is easy. Peace is hard. And someone has to be brave enough to go first. He looked at the human delegation. The Empress just went first. What are we going to do about it? The room was silent. Then, slowly, the head of the human delegation stood. Perhaps, he said carefully, we could start this conversation over. Without the pretense. Valdris nodded. Her copper eyes met Marcus's for just a moment. Something had changed. Marcus did not know if it would be enough. But for the first time since the negotiations started, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The negotiations changed after that day. They were still difficult. There were still arguments. But something was different now. The hatred had not disappeared, but it had softened. People on both sides were actually listening to each other. Marcus found himself pulled into meetings he had no business attending. The Valari advisors wanted him to explain human reactions. The human diplomats wanted him to interpret Valari body language. Somehow, the mechanic from the slums had become important. He did not enjoy it. The political games made his head hurt. Everyone was always playing some angle, trying to get an advantage. Marcus missed the simple honesty of fixing machines. A broken engine did not lie to you, but he kept going. Because every day, the impossible seemed a little more possible. Lily was thriving. The school on the station was amazing. She came home every afternoon full of excitement, talking about things she was learning. Real science. Real history. Other kids from both human and Valari families. Dad, did you know that Valari can see colors we can't? She told him one evening. And they can hear sounds that are too high for us. It's so cool. That is pretty cool. My friend Kareth says humans smell weird to them. Like metal and salt. She paused. I told him Valari smell like wet dogs. Marcus almost choked on his dinner. Lily, what? It's true. They laughed about it. We're friends now. Marcus looked at his daughter. 12 years old, already building bridges that adults struggled with. Maybe the next generation would be better at this peace thing. One night, Marcus could not sleep. He wandered through the station's quiet corridors until he found a small observation lounge. It was a forgotten corner that nobody used. Just a window looking out at the stars. He was surprised to find someone already there. Empress Valdris sat alone in the darkness. Her armor was gone. She wore simple clothes that made her look younger, more vulnerable. I apologize, Marcus said, backing toward the door. I didn't mean to intrude. Stay. It was not a command. It was a request. I could use company that is not trying to manipulate me. Marcus hesitated, then sat down on the bench across from her. They looked at the stars together in silence. How did you find this place? Valdris asked eventually. I brought my daughter here to Stargazy. She loves the stars. My father used to do the same with me. Valdris's voice was soft. Before the war took him. Marcus nodded. He understood loss. I'm sorry. It was many years ago. But some wounds do not heal. She turned to look at him. How do you do it, Marcus John? How do you move forward after losing so much? I don't know if I have answers for you, Your Majesty. Please, just Valdris. I am tired of being addressed by my title. Marcus thought about her question. Really thought about it. When my wife died, he said slowly, I wanted to give up. Just stop. The pain was so heavy that getting out of bed felt impossible. But I had Lily. She needed me. So I got up anyway. Not because I was brave or strong. Just because someone was counting on me. And that was enough? It had to be. I didn't have a choice. Marcus paused. Maybe that's the secret. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to take the next step. Then the next one. Eventually, it gets easier. Valdris was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. I inherited an empire that expects me to be a conqueror. My father was a warrior. His father was a warrior. 1,000 years of Valari history demands that I crush our enemies and expand our territory. But that's not what you want? I want my people to have a future. A real future. Not more war. Not more death. She looked at him with those copper eyes. But I do not know if peace is possible. There is so much hate. So much history. Marcus thought about what to say. He was not a philosopher. Not a politician. He was just a man who fixed things. You know what I've learned about hate? He said finally. It's heavy. Carrying it around takes energy. Most people would rather put it down if someone gives them permission. Permission? Yeah, someone has to show them it's okay to stop hating. That letting go doesn't mean they're weak or disloyal to the people they lost. Marcus shrugged. When you apologized to the human delegation, you gave them permission. Some of them took it, and the ones who didn't, they'll come around. Or they won't. You can't force people to change. You can only show them there's another way. Valdris stood and walked to the window. The starlight made her silver fur glow. My advisors say I should demand more from the humans. Push harder. Take advantage of their weakness after the war. She paused. But when I look at your people, I do not see weakness. I see survivors. People who should have been broken but refused to break. We're stubborn like that. Yes, it is admirable. She turned back to face him. My mother was right about you, Marcus Chun. You are a strange human. Thanks. I think it is a compliment. Valdris smiled. It was small, just a hint of expression on her wolf face. But it was real. Tomorrow, I'm going to propose something to the delegation. Something that will make my advisors very angry. What? A true alliance. Not just trade agreements. Real partnership. Cultural exchanges. Shared technology. Joint colonies where humans and Valari live together. Marcus stared at her. That was more than anyone had hoped for. More than anyone had even suggested. Is that even possible? I do not know. But someone has to go first, yes? Someone has to be brave. Her copper eyes held his. You taught me that. I didn't teach you anything. I'm just a mechanic. You are more than that. You are proof that kindness still exists in the universe. That people can choose to help instead of hurt. Valdris walked toward the door. Do not underestimate the importance of that, Marcus Chen. It is rarer than you know. After she left, Marcus sat alone in the observation lounge for a long time. He thought about his wife, about Lily, about all the choices that had led him to this moment. He had saved a stranger in an alley. He had lost his dream job. He had been brought to an alien warship. And somehow, impossibly, he was now sitting in the middle of history being made. Life was strange. When he finally went back to his quarters, Lily was asleep. He stood in her doorway and watched her breathe. We're going to be okay, he whispered. I don't know how, but we're going to be okay. For the first time in a long time, He actually believed it. Valdris announced her proposal the next morning. A true alliance between humans and Valari. Not just trade. Not just diplomacy. A real partnership that would change the galaxy forever. The reaction was exactly what Marcus expected. Chaos thought the Valari advisors were furious. They shouted about tradition and honor and the blood of their ancestors. How could the Empress suggest working with humans as equals? Humans were conquered peoples. Inferior species. This was madness. The human delegation was shocked. They had come expecting to fight for every small advantage. Now the Empress was offering more than they had dreamed possible. Some of them were suspicious. It had to be a trick. Nobody gave away this much without wanting something in return. But Valdris stood firm. "The war is over," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "It is time we stopped treating each other as enemies waiting to strike. My mother almost died because someone wanted to restart the fighting. There are those on both sides who profit from hate. I will not give them what they want." She looked directly at the human delegation. "Your people should have been destroyed. Your colonies were burned. Your fleets were scattered. By every measure, we won the war. But here you are, still standing, still fighting for a future. That is not weakness. That is strength." Then she looked at her own advisors. "And we have spent centuries believing we were superior to all other species. But superiority means nothing if we cannot adapt, cannot grow, cannot learn. The humans learned from their defeats. They became stronger. If we refuse to learn from them, we will become weaker." The room was silent. "I am not asking for surrender," Valdris continued. "From either side. I am asking for something harder. I am asking for trust. The kind of trust that is built slowly, through small actions. Through kindness. Through choosing to help instead of hurt." She paused. Her copper eyes found Marcus in the crowd. "A human mechanic saved my mother's life. He gained nothing from it. He lost everything. His job. His chance at a better future. He knew she was Valari, and he helped her anyway. That one action proved more than all our diplomats could prove in 1,000 meetings. It proved that peace is possible, not because of treaties or trade deals, because of people." The negotiations continued for 3 more weeks. There were arguments, compromises, moments when it seemed like everything would fall apart. But something had changed. Both sides were actually trying now, not just talking. Trying. Marcus found himself doing things he never expected. Explaining human holidays to Valari officials. Teaching Valari children about Earth's history. Translating not just words but feelings. Helping both sides understand each other just a little bit better. Admiral Korath, the Valari military commander, approached him one evening. He was a massive Valari, scarred from decades of warfare. He had killed humans. Many humans. "I have been watching you," Korath said. Marcus tensed. "Is that good or bad?" "Uncertain." The Admiral's ears flattened, a sign of respect. "When the Empress told us about her mother's rescue, I thought it was a trick. Some human manipulation. No enemy saves a dying opponent without reason. I had a reason. Yes, that is what concerns me." Korath was quiet for a moment. "I have fought your kind for 30 years. I have studied your tactics, your weapons, your strategies. I thought I understood humans, and now I realize I understood nothing. Your weapons are not your ships or your soldiers. Your weapon is this." He gestured vaguely. "This stubborn belief that things can be different. That enemies can become friends. That individuals matter more than empires. Is that a bad thing?" Korath made a sound that might have been a laugh. "It is terrifying, because it means our victory was never complete. You can destroy human fleets, burn human worlds, but you cannot destroy that belief. It grows back, stronger each time. He turned to leave, then paused. The Dominion has enemies beyond our borders. Powers that make the human-Valari war look like a minor disagreement. We will need allies who do not break, who keep fighting when all hope is lost. You think that's us? I think, Korath said slowly, that any species which produces men like you is not to be underestimated. The treaty was signed on a bright morning, with cameras broadcasting to both human and Valari worlds. The document was thick with legal language about trade routes and technology sharing and cultural exchange programs. But the meaning was simple. Two peoples who had spent 20 years killing each other were going to try something new. Peace. After the ceremony, Sareth found Marcus in the corridor. She looked different now, happier, lighter. You did well, she said. I didn't do anything. I just talked to people. Yes, that is exactly what you did. Sareth smiled. You talked to my daughter when she was lost. You talked to the diplomats when they were angry. You showed everyone that understanding is possible, one conversation at a time. I was just being me. That is enough. That has always been enough. Valdris offered Marcus any position he wanted. Ambassador, counselor, advisor to the throne. He could have power and influence and wealth beyond his dreams. He turned it all down. With respect, Your Majesty, I've had enough of history. I just want to raise my daughter somewhere safe and fix ships. That's enough for me. Valdris stared at him. You could change the galaxy. I think you're going to change the galaxy just fine without me. Marcus shrugged. I'm a mechanic, a dad. That's what I'm good at. That's what makes me happy. You are the most infuriating human I have ever met. I get that a lot. In the end, Valdris gave him a job at a shipyard on one of the new joint colonies. A world where humans and Valari would live together for the first time. Good schools for Lily. Honest work for Marcus. A small house with real windows and a garden. It was everything he had wanted. Everything he had given up in that alley 6 weeks ago. On the transport to their new home, Lily pressed her face against the window. Stars streaked past as they jumped between systems. Somewhere ahead, a new world waited. Dad? She asked. Are you happy? Marcus thought about the question. Really thought about it. He had lost his wife. Lost his dream job. Spent years struggling just to survive. But he had also saved a life. Made friends with an Empress. Helped build a peace that would change history. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Good. Lily smiled. Mom would be proud of you. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. He blinked them away. I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope so. The transport flew on through the stars. Behind them, two empires were learning to be friends. Ahead of them, a future that no one had thought possible was waiting to be built. And at the center of it all was a simple truth that humans had always known. Even when they forgot it. Every person matters. Every choice matters. Every small act of kindness can change the world. Marcus Chun was not a hero. He was just a man who had done the right thing when it was hard. Who had helped a stranger when it cost him everything. Who had refused to let hate win. And that, in the end, was what it meant to be human. Not conquering empires or winning wars. Not building the biggest ships or the strongest weapons. Just stubborn, impossible, infuriating hope. One act of kindness at a time. Marcus held his daughter's hand as they watched the stars. Somewhere out there, new adventures waited. New challenges. New chances to make a difference. But for now, this moment was enough. This moment was everything.